freezing. I might have to turn my heat on in August. That's crazy. Welcome to a Level 11. I am Danny, and some people call me Mama D. You can call me whatever you like. Just be kind. Be kind to everybody. We're going to talk about something that really needs to be addressed. And we need to see some proof. We're not just going to take the word of some lawyer or anything like that. But there's no witnesses backing up this lawyer's clients. You feel me? Like, wait till you really look at the way I'm presenting this, and it's going to make you really think about something that we have nothing to corroborate these witnesses that the lawyer is backing. And so we're going to be talking about Nolan Wells. And y'all, there's so much to it. So in the Nolan Wells case, the attorney for Nolan Wells' family, Ben Crump, I'm going to read it off to you here. Let me move it over so I can see it a little better. Has formally called for the U.S. Department of Justice, the DOJ, and the FBI to launch an independent federal review in his disappearance and death. Supported by the Congressional Black Caucus, the family held a press conference at the National Association of Black Journalists, NABJ, convention in Atlanta to push for federal investigation. So at this point, Jackson County District Attorney Angela Myers, and I can't even say her last name, McLarath, stated that the state's official autopsy and toxicology findings will remain sealed until the case is presented to the grand jury. So that's interesting, right? Independent autopsy inconclusive, and initial statement that there was no foul play is all heading this up. And in that, I got to thinking about the situation. And I'm like, hold on. If I got summoned to be on a jury, and it happened to be a situation similar to Nolan Wells, okay? If I'm on the jury, and follow me, you be on the jury too. All of us will be on this jury of this pretend trial that's similar to Nolan Wells' case. So what we're hearing is that there is a girl that was talking to the victim, directly in conversation with the victim near each other. That is supported by everybody, including the girl. So the victim is standing close to a girl. However, hear me out, the distance between the victim and a boat that is leaving is substantially different than the victim standing next to the girl. The only people that are witness to the ride saying, hey, get on the boat, hey, get on the boat, come on the boat, or the girls saying, yeah, they said get on the boat. The people on the boat say, yeah, we said get on the boat, so we're all good. Until we get into what the victim allegedly said, which was, no, I'm not getting on the boat 3 times. But the only people that heard the victim say this, that witnessed this, that have come forward, are on the boat at a far off distance. There's all these people surrounding the victim, plus the girl talking to him. No one else hears this victim say, no, I'm not getting on the boat. In fact, the girl witness is claiming that this victim went towards the boat. So you're telling me that this lawyer is like, look, it's broad daylight. You have to go to the island. You need to go to the island. Oh, let me do my impersonation. Oh, wait, I can't look that way. But he's like, if you don't go to the island, you are not an authority. Oh, bullshit. That has nothing to do with this. This has to do with actual logistically placement of people. And if I'm on the jury and none of these witnesses that were there, including the girl standing next to the victim, heard the victim say, no, I'm not going, then I have to ask, what is the corroboration to your he said, no, I'm not going to get on the boat? No one heard that. No one heard that except the people on the boat, which are far away from the victim. In fact, this is going on. This person is alleging that their friend was yelling, get on the boat, get on the effing boat, get on the boat. But no one heard the victim yell back, which apparently you'd have to be yelling for that person to hear you, right? Okay, no, I'm not. Nobody heard him say no. So there's no witness to corroborate that statement at all, except for the victim did not get on the boat, allegedly, according to those 5 people. Everybody else on the whole island is saying never saw him again, except for 2 people that have known Nolan for a long time, and they're not young like all the other boys, they're older. Could they have come forward sooner when the search was on for Nolan and said, hey, called the mother and been like, we know your son, and we saw him at around 5:50 p.m. He was asking for a ride, and we said we're full to capacity. They didn't come forward while the search is on for Nolan, nor did they come forward right away in the first weeks to say, we saw Nolan. And we don't even know if these are 2 people that are suffering from Alzheimer's or what. We have nothing. We don't have a name. We have nothing that makes them credible at all. And yet these lawyers want to just wipe everything off the table. Wipe the whole whiteboard clean of all of this because they've got 2 witnesses that have spoke to the police. Let me remind you, in the Delphi case, there was a man that walked by 3 girls. All 3 girls were together. And when it came to court, not one of those 3 eyewitnesses gave the same statement. And so their credibility was very questionable. How do we know, like Nancy Grace said, that they weren't drinking or getting high or whatever? How did they know what time it was? None of this has been answered. These witnesses have not been put through any process of credibility testing as far as I am aware. They just simply told their story, maybe wrote it up on a piece of paper, handed it into the police, and therefore it's their affidavit. But if you go back to some of the trials we've been through and some of the court cases that we've been through, witnesses can be lying. Witnesses can be faked. Witnesses can be bought. I'm not saying these are, but I'm saying it has happened. So when you have an entire group of multiple people and the lawyer's saying, look, there's an island there. It's a broad daylight. There's not even trees where they are. It couldn't have happened. No foul play could have happened on the island itself because you couldn't hide it. Well, the shoe is going to fit for the same point. That how would you hide Nolan yelling back amongst all these people, no, I don't need a ride. I'm not going back with you. It's not likely. So you can't have your cake and your pie and eat it too. If it's so crowded and it's broad daylight and all these witnesses are there, and so therefore it couldn't have been foul play on the island, I'll give you that. Because somebody would have been like, what are they doing to that kid? But at the same regard, you can't possibly expect us to then turn around and just absolutely buy into the story that Nolan was yelling back to these people closer to this female, further away from the individuals on the boat. And he said, no, I'm not going. I'm not going with you guys. Nobody can corroborate that. Only the people on the boat, their own party. So how could it have happened? How's that even possible? You're telling me that all the people close to Nolan, physically standing next to him, waiting next to him, all these people could not hear him at all say that, but yet the boys that are further away, they're the ones that heard it, but there's nobody else to corroborate it. Right? Nobody else heard Nolan say, no, I don't need to ride back with you. No, I'm not getting on the boat. Nobody else heard that. Are you kidding me? We're into a month and nobody came forward and said, yeah, I did hear Nolan say he wasn't getting on the boat. No one? Oh, come on. That's just, I can't. When they heat FBI, they will disappear because they don't want the smoke. Thank you, Aquarium Designs. Fueled by Folgers and Jesus, I love your name. Can Ahmad post my channel link here? No. We don't advertise channels unless we know what they're all about. But welcome to the channel. So I wanted to really pay attention to what is being shared here because it needs some explaining. There's just no way. Okay, you can get up there and be like, there's just no way foul play happened. What about in between the boats? What about on the boat? What about this whole thing to where there's some time in between leaving the island and them being towed? There's some time there. What could have happened there? How do we even know? We don't. We have no idea if Nolan was on that boat or not. We have no idea if they're on the up and up. It's just strange. Still under investigation. They're not going to tell everything. Well, and that's fine. However, is it really under investigation? Because if it was really under investigation, did all the boys get their phones gone through? Did they bring a cadaver dog on that boat? Did they search that boat? No, according to the lawyers, they didn't even search that boat, the Trident. So is it really under investigation? I don't know what you think. I don't know. Let me know. Let me know. All right, let's get into Asifer Taitam.
Nolan was, the last time I saw Nolan was 3 o'clock. And Nolan was cradling a girl in his arms.
Okay, hold on. So if the last time he saw Nolan was at 3 o'clock and he was cradling Katie, the boat didn't leave for an hour and a half. So how does he know where Nolan is now if he can't even lay eyes on him? If he doesn't even see him for an hour and a half before they left, but he hears his friend yelling, Nolan, get on the boat, get on the boat, get on the boat, get on the effing boat. But yet, never even does he claim that he heard Nolan say, no, I'm not getting on the boat. Listen to what he really is saying.
Katie. And Katie, Nolan was sitting there, and the last time I saw him, I looked at Nolan, and Nolan was like shaking his head, laughing, and I was like, dude, you crazy. I was like just joking with him. And but anyway, Nolan, that was the last time I laid eyes on him.
Okay. So 3 o'clock. The boat's not going to leave for an hour and a half. Warren never sees Nolan after 3. Keep that in mind. That's important. Listen to this. I think there's a reason why he says the last time I saw that I laid eyes on Nolan was 3 o'clock. There's a reason There's a reason. And maybe it's because that's the last time he truly laid eyes on Nolan. But let's get into this part.
Obviously, no one is getting left at the island that came with us unless they demanded to, be there and asked, this is a very common thing at Horn Island. When you're out there, a lot of people ride out there with someone.
Okay, first of all, let's just be real. It's a very common thing for people to smoke marijuana. Doesn't make it legal. It's a very common thing for these people to ride out on one boat and not come back. Doesn't make it legal. So even saying that it's a common thing doesn't make it acceptable in the eyes of the law. And without anyone coming forward as a witness to corroborate the individuals on the boat, including we hear from no one there ever heard Nolan say, "No, I don't need a ride." And furthermore, I brought it up 100 times, but now it's getting even stranger. If these people knew Nolan, if they're not the same age group as Nolan, but yet he doesn't get a ride from them because they're up to capacity, and Nolan's response is, "I have plenty of other friends here." Why is Nolan trying to get a ride back with old people? That doesn't make no sense. But listen to what he says.
And in with somebody else all the time. I've done that 100 times.
Who cares?
It's a very common thing, but
okay, move on.
Nolan was sitting by the boat with that Katie girl, and my buddy yelled at.
Okay, wait.
Yelled at.
Hold on.
Nolan was sitting by the boat with that Katie girl, and my buddy yelled for no.
Nolan was sitting by the boat with that Katie girl. They didn't leave till 4:30. How does Warren know if he didn't see him? Because he didn't. He saw Nolan at 3. The boat's leaving now. It's 4:30. An hour and a half has passed. Yet Warren is making the statement, not that he was told, not that, no. He said Nolan was sitting by the boat with that Katie girl. And that's when they're leaving. So where did Warren get that crap from if he didn't see him? Who told him that? Why does he make it a statement if he didn't see it? Something's wrong there. It would almost suggest the way he states it that he saw Nolan at 4:30, but he says he didn't.
With that Katie girl, and my buddy Nolan was sitting by the boat with that Katie girl, and my buddy yelled for Nolan, get on the boat. We're leaving. The boat's having issues. And no, he didn't say that, but he was panicking. Nolan, get the F on the boat. Get on the boat. And Nolan said, "No, I'm staying out here."
Okay. Why is he presenting that as a first person perspective if he didn't lay eyes on Nolan when this was going on? How does he know Nolan was sitting by the boat if he can't see Nolan? And if his buddy is saying, "Nolan, get on the boat," panicking, "get on the boat," how come Katie, nor the coach, nor Trayvon, nor any of those people heard Nolan clearer when Katie was right next to him, allegedly, when other people are right next to Nolan? No one is coming forward to corroborate what these kids are saying, these young men. Even if they're the finest in spring place in the world, none of them are backing up these fine young men. And that's the problem, because there is laws, maritime laws, that say if you go with that person and, if you're a captain and you take these people out, you got to make sure they get back with you. So there's this liability that's ringing out in the air like, tinnitus that is saying we have to have this person deny that they went on the boat 3 times for you to be legally clear. And so is that what these interviews are? Is about plausible deniability. And yet we have no cooperating witnesses at all, which, just like the lawyer was saying, it's impossible for foul play to have happened in the middle of the day with all these people around right on the island. I agree. I agree with that. And therefore, the same is good for the goose is good for the gander, is that I cannot believe that if Nolan had yelled back, I'm not going, go without me, I'm getting a different ride, we would have multiple witnesses that are all around Nolan saying, yeah, the boy said he didn't want to get on the boat. Katie would have been like, yeah, he didn't want to get on the boat. He said no 3 times, but nobody backs that up. It's as if it didn't happen. You feel me? So as far as the phone goes with Nolan, I'll tell you right now, as a mother, if I had that phone, I wouldn't hand it over to a legal department that I just heard immediately before the investigation was even open into my son's death, already state that they didn't suspect foul play. I would not hand that phone over for a second. I would get myself a lawyer and we would all sit down together so that everybody could see what's on my son's phone. Because if I'm worried that there's some biased opinion, that they think that they can be, what do we have, a psychic sheriff? If he's not psychic, then he sure the hell don't know how the boy drowned or how the boy died or what happened to him until the scientific proof comes in. But to make that statement that doesn't look like foul play to us, you wouldn't be getting my boy's phone because I'm already suspicious that you be covering shit up because you can't know this shit unless you are psychic. And I don't believe that he's psychic. So how's he know that? He doesn't. And to give them that opportunity to lose the phone, to corrupt the data, all that crap, wouldn't happen. I would make damn sure that when that phone is turned in, there's an audience of authority, both on the benefit of my son's case, as well as they can't turn around and say, well, maybe the police corrupted the phone, because they're right there with it. So they're getting the right answer. So I support that move big time. Nikki says, it's okay, Dulce. Mama D has trouble reading in caps. I do. I have dyslexia, and when you put caps up, it just all blurs together. Aquarium says, watch the video that Tatum posts with the guys making the sea tow call, then focus on the guy in the blue shorts, slow it down, and you will see a hand raise up from the floor off the boat, then go back down. I've been watching that all morning trying to figure that out. And that statement that they all made about, you don't see this on the floor, you can almost see the floor, you don't see anybody on the floor. And they were saying all that, and I was like, but I did see something on the floor. It almost looked like a hand, like a forearm, like this, right? You can't really see my hand that good, especially if I turn it this way. So if I went up and back down, I don't know, it just seemed weird. Or, there was nothing else moving on the boat. So why would that have come up into view and gone back down? We'll have to get into that. But this is a big problem for me, that nobody can corroborate the story other than the people on the boat that Nolan said, no, I don't want to ride. Why is there not one human being on that planet? How are people that are having to yell so you can hear them? How are they hearing what you say, but the people right next to you don't hear you yelling back? I don't see how that's possible. You've been kicked twice? I'm so sorry that y'all are getting kicked around. I'm very sorry. I wish YouTube would be kinder. Welcome back. Here's a pillow for your butt. All right, let's listen again now.
On the boat. Get on the boat. And Nolan said, no, I'm staying out here.
Who heard that? He wasn't there. Or if he was there, if Warren was there, he didn't witness any of it. So he's not even appropriate as a witness. He shouldn't even be talking on the matter because he didn't lay eyes on Nolan since 3 o'clock. How does he know that even is Nolan? And how does he hear, Warren hear, but Katie doesn't, right? How come Warren lawyered up but Katie didn't? How come Katie cooperated and went ahead, not a polygraph, but the voice thing they did? The CV, whatever it's called. Warren didn't, according to the lawyer, right? But Katie did. Something's wrong here.
I'm going to ride in with somebody else.
Okay, so what is it? I'm going to ride in with somebody else. How come Katie didn't say, yeah, he yelled back, I'm going to ride in with somebody else? How come the bystander next to him didn't say that? How come nobody on the planet but the 5 people on the boat that are the furthest away from Nolan that would be considered responsible for all passengers that rode out on their boat is the only ones to hear, no, I'm going to ride back with somebody else? Nobody else heard that.
And it's not uncommon to hear, but...
What? It's not uncommon to hear?
And it's not uncommon to hear, but...
Oh, please.
It's not like my buddy asked him one time. My buddy asked Nolan multiple times to get on.
Okay, right there is that legal maritime law. It's not like my friend asked him one time. My friend asked him multiple times. So not only would it have been a chance to hear it once, but it would have been multiple times that Nolan would have had to answer and say no. And nobody heard that out of multiple times but the people that are the furthest away on the boat. How convenient. Because that is the one thing you need to be able to say, I'm no longer responsible for that passenger. They are of legal age, and they made it clear multiple times that they would not be riding back with us. That would clear the captain legally. But yet you got nobody to corroborate that. So now it's he said, she said. And she done her thing with the police. She is absolutely saying Nolan, I thought, was going with them when they called. He went that direction. But she never said, I heard Nolan. And neither did anybody else. Hear Nolan say, no, I've got to ride with somebody else.
On the boat. Nolan, get on the boat. Get on the boat. We're leaving. If you're coming, you got to come now. And Nolan made a decision to stay out on the island.
And Nolan made the decision to stay out on the island. How would he know? He'd be all third hand, right? Somebody had to tell him all this because he didn't see it. And he never qualifies that he heard it. Because the last time he laid eyes was at 3 o'clock. And an hour and a half later is when they're in a hurry to get the hell out of there. So Warren is basically giving eyewitness account of something that allegedly he never even saw.
And like he said, you know,
In
How
my
many people
opinion.
heard that? Were
That's
there
what I
just,
believe.
just a few?
five
Or?
to, I mean, everyone that was on our boat right there, because the Palm Beach had already left.
Wait.
Out on the island now. And Nolan made a decision to stay out on the island. And like he said, you know,
How many people heard that?
How many people heard that? Thank you, Ossifer Tatum. How many people heard that? No one denying that he didn't want to get on the boat. How many people heard that? Because, I agree. That's a great question. Was it Katie? Nope. Was it Trayvon? No. Was it the coach that had literally was talking to Nolan till about 3:30, allegedly? Nope. Was it a bystander? Not that we know of. Nobody's come forward. So how many people heard Nolan say, I don't want to get on the boat? Let's listen. Listen close.
Were there
At least
just a
five.
few, or?
Everyone that was on our boat right there, because the Palm Beach had already.
Okay. So the actual answer is 5. 5. All the people on our boat. 5. I thought there were 7 on your boat, according to what you told the CETO people. Well, not you, but Wyatt. Now we're down to 5 people. And they're the only ones that heard it. So you're telling me Nolan was over in the water, down off the boat, and he was talking to Katie, and the boat was about to leave, and somebody said, Nolan, get on the boat, come on, get on the effing boat. And Nolan said, no, go ahead without me. I'm going to get a ride with someone else. Nolan, get on the boat. Come on, get on the boat. Get on the boat. No, I'm not going with you. I'm getting a ride with someone else. Nolan, just get on the boat. No, I'm going to stay here. I'll get a ride with someone else. And nobody heard that but the people that are far away on the boat. And Warren can't even be sure who the hell that his buddy was hearing. Because Warren didn't see anything since 3 and it's an hour and a half later. No. I just don't believe any of it. I don't believe
My buddy
it.
went ahead and went home on the Palm Beach, and 3 guys.
Okay, let's listen to this. This is Don Lemon here.
Disparaged in some way.
And the TMZ guy.
I think it's weird.
Yeah.
When Warren sat down with the guy, I know we don't like to say his name, sat down with him, I was like, okay, this one kid and his mom is a judge, and maybe he wants to sort of clear his name. But now every week, another friend sits down, or another friend sits down, and now they've got this lawyer, and they're sitting down and doing interviews. It's weird to me. And it's not just weird. There are people who are going to say things on the internet. Why does that rise to the level of you need an attorney to now sit down and do interviews to publicize yourself, to try and change the court of public opinion? Why do you care about a court of public opinion? Because you didn't do anything. And ultimately, if you didn't do anything, and maybe they didn't, let's take them at their word and their attorney that they didn't have anything to do with Nolan's death. That's all going to come out when the results of the autopsy come out, when the investigation comes out. So why are you now getting? It's almost like I get like this attorney has probably convinced them, yes, do this and talk about this and it'll change public opinion. But what it really does, it makes some people will look at it and go like, well, what are you getting out in front of? If you didn't do anything, there's nothing to get out in front of. So in some ways it can backfire on you. It's just weird to me. And then you also run the risk of what did happen is that one of these kids sits down and blasts Nolan's mom and says that she was wrong to put out that photo, and that's not going to play well in the public for you.
In some way, a despair.
Any more channels you would like to mention? Lisa, stop, please. We get that you believe the boys are innocent. However, you're bringing up things that we've already discussed, like the phone, which I made it clear I stand 1,000% by the fact that if the sheriff himself came out and was like, there's no foul play, and they hadn't even opened the investigation yet, he ain't psychic, so obviously he's biased, in my humble opinion. And therefore, I would not hand over the phone. And they are working with the DA. They are getting things set up so that everybody can come together and get in that phone of Nolan's all at the same time. Now, one thing I want to remind you is Nolan is not a suspect. You get me? He's not the one I'm worried about deleting stuff off his phone because he's passed away. All right? Now, what about these boys had their phones looked at? Were they downloaded by the FBI? Were they examined thoroughly to see if things had been deleted? Was the Triton boat searched by dogs? No, none of that happened that I know of. Was this even investigated as a criminal case at all? Not that I'm seeing. They basically have been treating this as if this was somebody that drowned suspiciously, and they're going to try to look at it to see. But it doesn't mean that Nolan's phone is a criminal act if it's not shared with a biased sheriff that's making assertions that he has no forensic ability to make. How much forensic education and lab education, without running any tests, running anything, does a sheriff have? None. He's basically supposed to be collecting evidence of what happened. But to draw a conclusion, you ain't getting my boy's phone. No. And Nolan was never a suspect, so you can quit with that. But by golly, I would cling to that phone and make sure I was in the presence of everybody when it's examined, because they'll be able to put that in through this entire data upload, and everybody will know every move that was made with that phone. And so I get it. You go, Mama D, says JG George. You go. Hey, Smudger. Lisa, you can take an exit when you are naming channels and saying they're a joke and talking about. Okay, please just show Lisa the door. Not only is she literally getting on my nerves because she's throwing out shit that isn't even true, she's promoting all her channels. You know what I'm saying? So just get her out the door. She's obviously here just for some PR scam. If you come in with your opinion, that's one thing. I appreciate that, and it can be completely different than mine. You can say, whatever you want, that's your opinion, but don't come in advertising people's channels. And don't come in and start calling names, because then you're gone. We don't allow that. You feel me? Right? You feel me, Nikki says. Hey, Linda Lou. Thank you. All right, so let's continue on. I get where he's coming from. It's as if, even on Nancy Grace, they're like, we've got 2 witnesses, so these boys left at 4:30, and Nolan was seen at 6, so that wipes everything off. There's no foul play, guarantee it, 100%, 10,000%, blah, 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 blah. That's what I heard anyway, my interpretation, paraphrasing. And the truth is, those aren't even witnesses that have been accredited yet. We don't know if these were drunk hobos that you went and got off of, went under some bridge and was like, hey, drunkies, come here. You're going to say you was in a boat here and this all happened. We don't know. Or are they actual credible witnesses? We don't know. But we don't need to believe you. We don't have to trust you. And we don't have to trust somebody that could have concocted a story. And when you say, Nancy's like, how do I know, or do you know, if these witnesses are friends of the friends? And he's like, no, not that I know. They're not even the same age. Are they friends of the parents? That's what I wanted the lawyer to answer. Are these witnesses direct friends of the parents of any of the people that were with Nolan that day on the 4th? I'm just asking questions. because I'm not going to accept that we have this idea that these are credible witnesses just because some guy that looks like JLR drew his eyebrows on and got himself a cheap hat. There's no way I'm just going to buy it because it comes out of this guy's mouth, especially this guy, in my opinion. I don't believe a word he says.
You're kidding me. Because when you tell me I'd rather not answer,
Yeah. This part, Nancy's like, how'd you get involved in the case? Well, I think we all know by his answer. I mean, if you haven't figured out that the judgy is good friends with the Govey, and the Govey made some phone calls to some friends who knew some friends that hired some guy that don't even wear socks with his shoes, in my opinion. I mean, maybe he does, but he looks like the type that don't, in my opinion. I don't believe a word he says, and his smugness is pathetic. This boy is dead, and you have this lawyer over here. He's like, literally, look at his face. Look at his face. I can't.
Well, I want to
That's
protect
just
the names that I wanna
igniting
protect the
me
na-
to find out how
Well,
you got
hold on.
involved in the
Well,
case.
Well, hold on. I can tell you a little bit more.
Hold on. I got a secret that's making Nancy Grace all weird. Yeah, it's how I got involved in the Nolan Wells case. I got a secret. Yuck.
I can tell you this. I can tell you.
Oh, we're just dying to know.
A close friend who knows
close friend.
the Ocean Springs, Mississippi community very, very well.
So he describes the governor. I don't know if that's who he's talking about, but it sounds like it to me. I don't know.
Is from the area.
Oh, of course he is.
Connected me to a friend of his. And then I found myself speaking to Tyler here. And
I found
Tyler
myself.
and I instantly became very close friends. We both have blue pickup trucks, so now we're the Blues Brothers. We just became very close. We hit it off. Then I had the opportunity to speak to Warren, speak to Morgan.
Okay, whatever. Let's get into this. Let's just skip that crap.
These people, and I don't disbelieve any of these people. I want to hear about witnesses that spotted him alive after 4:30, because I believe I can confirm the boat left around 4:30, and I'm referring to the Triton. That's the boat they were on. There are a lot of boats. Let's see the video of all the boats out there. So when I say Triton, I'm talking about the boat Nolan was on the way to the island. There's a lot of boats out there and a lot of witnesses too. This is from the Officer Tatum. Okay. There are witnesses placing him there at 6. And I want to be very clear, gentlemen, that I'm not convinced he drowned just because somebody said so. Even if he did drown, that does not mean that there wasn't foul play. Why is that mark on the back of his head? Was he hit on the head and fell in the water? Was he held under the water? Was it an accident? I don't know. But I am very interested in witnesses that place him alive at 6 p.m. Please tell me, Tyler Cox.
So, Nancy, look, we have had multiple witnesses reach out to us, 2 confirmed witnesses.
Okay, wait. Multiple witnesses. That's been going on, and Nancy pins it down. You're about to hear that it was just 2 and that they were together, that they may or may not have been drinking. They may or may not have been getting high. We have nothing that makes them credible at this point for us to believe that they're credible. Especially the fact that at this point in time, we're a month out, and these witnesses that we don't even know if they're credible never contacted the mother of the missing child to say, I saw him at 5:50 p.m. Never contacted the mother at all that we're aware of. So if these are such credible witnesses, why would they have not come forward for weeks? Why would they have not talked to the parents? Why would Nolan be getting on a boat with 2 elderly folk that aren't even the same age as him? Face it, when you're 18, anybody in their 30s is old. So why is this 18-year-old Nolan Wells, when he's allegedly got all kinds of friends back here that can give him a ride, asking some elderly folk, can I get a ride with y'all? Come on. How credible are your witnesses? I mean, anybody else notice that this verdict booze is just floating around all over with these lawyers? Isn't that Tatum's thing? That verdict alcohol? Isn't that Tatum's thing? Is that some sort of verdict club that we're not in? Right. Nobody kicked you, Jules Lovely. Those witnesses do not exist, according to Curtis, in their opinion. I'm just saying, I'm so tired of people trying to come on. And I don't give a dang how many interviews you do. I don't care if you stay up 24/7 and you rotate all the way through every single person that'll allow you to do an interview. And you say it over and over again. You have not provided evidence of any credible witnesses whatsoever to the general public. And just because the police have talked to these people doesn't mean that the police took it serious either. I mean, think about the Summer Wells case. We had an eyewitness, allegedly, named Jody Sue, the neighbor that heard the scream. Her children even stated that they heard the scream. Yet the police talked to her, and when they was done, they basically came out on the news because they're more forthcoming and said, we don't believe that this is a credible witness. So just because you got some people that may or may not have been all drugged up or drinking or partying or whatever, how are we supposed to know if we can believe them or not? So at this point, we're back over at 4 o'clock, 4:30. The boat's leaving. Katie's talking to Nolan. And she never hears Nolan say, no, I don't want to get on the boat. Javon never hears it. The coach never hears it. Nobody on the island hears it but the 5 people furthest away on the damn boat. So in my belief system, somebody here telling a fib. Either you have some apathetic witnesses that are like, I don't give a shit. I know I heard it, but I'm never going to tell anybody. Times hundreds, because there's all these people here. You'd have to have a whole apathetic, literal ocean of people that are just like, no, we're not even going to back that up. I know we heard it, but we're not going to say anything about it. We'll just let it go. Or nobody heard it because that was never done, in my opinion. Because I would believe 100% the boys if Katie and other people were like, yeah, I heard Nolan say, no, I don't want on that boat. But the truth is, the only way that they are protected by the maritime law is for the victim or the person, the passenger, to say it 3 times. No, I don't want on the ride. No, I don't need a ride. No, I'm not getting on the boat. Then they're clear. So this all seems like that's what they're doing. They're basically getting out here and they're making it like 3 times. It was said 3 times. It was said 3 times. You know what they say about 3? 3 is the number for the liar. Oh, last time I saw Nolan, it was at 3 o'clock. I'm not saying he's a liar. I'm saying most people know the number 3 as the number. 3 is the number when someone's lying. I don't know if that's true or not, but I find it interesting that that's the way it works. You know? So let's listen to this for a minute. Let's give this a listen
These people, and I don't disbelieve any of these people. I want to hear about witnesses that spotted him alive after 4:30 because I believe I can confirm the boat left around 4:30. And I'm referring to the Triton. That's the boat they were on.
So,
there are a lot of boats.
I do
We'll see
have
the
to
video.
say this. Nancy, honey, I believe it's the Triton. I don't think it's the Triton. Maybe it is. But Nancy, I believe it's the Triton. I could be wrong, though. You may be right. Maybe I'm
Of
saying
all
it
the
wrong.
boats out there. So when I say Triton, I'm talking
There you
about
go.
the boat Nolan was on the way to the island. There's a lot of boats out there. And
What am I seeing? Okay, hold on. all those people. Look at all those people. Let's go back. Let's go back. None of these people. Look, there's Nolan in the water. Boats away. Boats away. And all these people, if that is Nolan right there, if that is Nolan, all these people couldn't hear Nolan saying, no, I don't want to get on the boat. But the people on the boat could hear. They're the only ones that could hear it. Maybe they're psychic too. Maybe they're implying that Nolan thought it and they read his mind. Maybe they're just as psychic as the sheriff is, or full of shit, one or the other.
Boat Nolan was on the way to the island. There's a lot of boats out there and a lot of witnesses too. There's
A lot of witnesses too. But none of them corroborate the story. None of them. So it makes me believe that this story is a story and not the accurate truth.
Officer Tatum. Okay. There are witnesses placing him there at 6. And I want to be very clear, gentlemen, that I'm not convinced he drowned just because somebody said so.
Me either.
Even if he did drown, that does not mean that there wasn't foul play. Why is that mark on the back of his head? Was he hit on the head?
Look, she's got the little guy, the little, Jack Russell lawyer. She's got him all muted. He can't even talk. He's like trying to talk and it's completely muted. He's like, and you notice he looks as high as a kite, in my opinion. Hey, that's what he looks like. I doubt he is. But he does look that way. It's probably just his normal demeanor. But wow.
He fell in the water? Was he held under the water? Was it an accident?
He's still trying to talk. She got him muted.
I am very interested in witnesses that place him alive at 6 p.m. Please tell me, Tyler Cox.
So, Nancy, look, we have had multiple witnesses reach out to us.
How many?
2 confirmed witnesses that saw Nolan Wells on the island around 6 p.m. on July 4th. Well after the Triton, as you said, left around 4:30. And so those witnesses have went to investigators, they've talked to the police, and they've done what they're supposed to do. We've cooperated 100%. So has
Where did they
those
see
witnesses.
him, Tyler Cox? Where did the witnesses see them? Do they know him well enough to make a positive ID? Hey, speaking of a positive ID, control room, please pull up a photo that we showed a couple of days ago. There are 2 or 3 women, white females, walking along the beach, as I recall, each clad in a bikini. There is
we know about that
believe,
picture. We know about that picture. Yeah. That's not Nolan. But could they have thought that that was Nolan? Maybe.
There they are. The 2 of you have tried a lot of cases, as have I. Or attack an eyewitness. And it's in the code, the official code of Mississippi annotated. There are prescribed methods under which you cross-examine an eyewitness. For instance, does the witness know the target? Was the lighting sufficient? How far away was the witness? What were the conditions of the eyewitness identification? Was the eyewitness inebriated or high or otherwise incapacitated? How far away were they? Do they wear glasses? It goes on and on and on. It's late.
You get the point. They haven't been verified. So the lawyer can go on 24 hours a day. They can sit there and say they've got 2 eyewitnesses that blah, 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 blah. And I can tell you that I've got a Corvette in my driveway too. Does that make that real? It does not. Now, one thing I do know, that if Nolan had been yelling out, "No, I'm not going to take a ride back with you. No, I don't need a ride. Nope, I don't need a ride," someone on that damn planet, on that island, would have heard the boy. I truly believe that. And so therefore, nobody heard it. I don't believe it. And that's pretty much cinches that up. and then not hear anything after 4. There's no witness, in my opinion. There's these 2 witnesses that haven't even been verified. We don't know if they're even credible. What if it turns out that they are simply people that said they were on the island, but when they check into it, then people weren't even on the island? How do we know if they really went to the 4th of July to Horn Island? And what time? How would they have known what time? How do they know it was close to 6 o'clock? What, are they using a sundial, or did they use their clock? Did they have a watch? Were they looking at their phone? Who are these people? So until more evidence comes out that proves that these people, like, I don't know, maybe they were like, hey, we took a picture of it at that time, or somebody around there. How come Nolan, if there were friends all there, still there, according to what they're saying, he said no, he didn't need a ride anyway because there were friends that he could ride back with. How come none of them friends got asked by Nolan, could I have a ride? You feel me? Out of all the boats there, and Nolan, if we go with the narrative, has just waved his ride on. Not only did he not ask anybody before your couple if he could have a ride back on a boat, he never asked anybody after that couple if he could have a ride back on boat. So the only people that Nolan approached out of all the boats are those 2 witnesses. And not only did none of the other boats get asked by Nolan if he could have a ride before or after that witness, none of the other witnesses ever saw Nolan approaching said witnesses. Never said Nolan walked past me as he approached another boat. So, how are you going to prove that in court? So back to the whole jury thing. If I was on a jury and I was asked to believe the story that the people on a boat could hear better of the victim being that far away, and if you listen to the lawyers, they're saying 50 to 100 yards away from land, and Nolan's in the water and he's only up to here in water. Okay, if they're sitting 17 to 31 feet in water, they're pretty far away. How in the hell would you be expecting jurors to buy that scenario that everybody else that's right next to the victim never hears the victim say that? No, their story allegedly is that the victim didn't answer actually at all, but just turned and headed towards the boat as if he was responding to them calling. It's just, you would never get a jury of 13 people to buy a scenario that you're further away in boats and you can hear it, but nobody else, even the people right next to the victim, didn't hear it. No, it's just not going to work. So that's my rant. That's my rant. I just don't believe it. Kashmir says, have you heard that Nolan was in a boat and on another boat tied itself to the boat the boy was on and jumped him? I had not heard that. A bunch of people are lying. That's the thing. There's some lies between someone, because either all those witnesses are just belligerent and like, nope, we're not going to be witnesses. We're not going to talk about it. We're not going to say a thing. Even though we heard Nolan say, nope, we don't want on that boat, we're not going to talk. Or he never said it. And no one's not here to tell us. So all we have are the witnesses, the ones like Katie, who didn't lawyer up, that opened herself up to taking some sort of voice testing to see if she was lying and all that without a lawyer. You feel me? You feel me? All right, you guys, let's listen to this little bit right here.
These people, and I don't disbelieve any of these people. I want to hear.
Let me get down here. See what he has to say.
Tyler, I've got 1 hour, and nobody's running for miscongeniality. Let's just let it be noted, judicial notice. They were all good. Everybody's good. Okay.
Everybody's good.
Tyler,
Yes.
the witnesses that came forward, here's something that would tend to corroborate them is if multiple witnesses said the same thing. Witnesses separated in time and space. Witnesses
that are separated by time and space.
that are not all friends.
Witnesses that are not all friends.
Witnesses that are not good friends with your clients.
Witnesses that are not good friends with your client.
That may have a reason to be fuzzy on the time. I'm not saying they are or that they're not. Here's my question to you. Are these witnesses friends of your clients?
I don't think they're friends, and they're not even the same age.
Wait. So if they're not the same age, are they the same age as your client's parents? Are they family friends? Are they family friends? Being they're not the same age as your client. You feel me? That didn't get asked. And that's what needed to be asked.
Okay. Next question. How many witnesses place him there on the island at 6-ish?
And don't say
At
multiple.
least two that I know.
Two. Do the witnesses know each other?
Yes.
Were they together that day?
Yes.
Checkmate. All right, you guys. So, I don't know. It just doesn't work. It absolutely doesn't work. I don't believe a thing they're saying about this idea that we have two credible witnesses that truly saw Nolan. Because if they knew Nolan, wouldn't their heart have tugged on them to call that boy's family and say, I know you're searching for your boy. We seen him yesterday at this time. I know you found your boy dead, but we are here to tell you that we did see him at 5:50. How come Nolan's family was never contacted by this older couple that know Nolan so good? How come they waited so long? I don't know, y'all. Money talks, bullshit walks, right? I don't know. I'm just bringing up questions and telling you what I believe and what I don't believe. I'm not saying the boys are lying, but I don't believe them. And I don't have to believe them. Because logic tells me, scientifically tells me, that if Nolan had refused to ride on the boat, he would have had to done it 3 times. And if the person is at a distance and they're having to, according to them, yell, it would make sense that a lot of people would have heard Nolan in that massive wave of water of people. They would have heard Nolan saying, nope, I don't want to ride. And if your witnesses are so credible, why don't you have more of them? Why don't you have people saying, yeah, I seen him walking over to that boat? Nope, you don't. You have people saying, never saw the boy after 4 o'clock. I was here all day, never saw the boy after 4 o'clock. All right, my lovelies. That's what I have for you today. I will be going deeper into this as we go. We will continue with the Nolan Wells case as things come up and we need to talk about it. We will do so. I'm also covering the Lindsay Clancy case right now, which is very heavy. She broke down in court yesterday. I just needed a day off from that case because that's about some little babies that are dead. And it's real hard. It's real hard, heavy case. But I wanted to remind you, let me grab it, that tomorrow is our fundraiser. Now, we're doing the fundraiser for National Center for Missing Exploited Children, which is a wonderful service. You'll be able to donate directly to them. I'm not the middleman. That's a direct donation to the National Center. You'll be able to do it through your YouTube Snooper Chat, but it goes to, because it's a fundraiser. And it is in honor of the memory, which is never forgotten, of Kylie Rodney, of Jay Slater, and of Nolan Wells. And I hope we're able to begin to raise enough money that maybe this year we'll surpass last year's donation of $5,000 to the National Center for Missing Exploited Children. What I'm going to share with you tomorrow, oh, I just hit myself in the face, is this painting that I did. So I'm going to slow it down. I'm going to speed up the painting because it took me a couple hours. We'll speed it up so that we can do it in a short amount of time. I'll share it with you. And you just never know. We might raise a few funds to go towards the National Center for Missing Exploited Children. I love that we do that. I love that we get back on this channel. I appreciate all of you. And with that, I will see you tomorrow. Have a great evening. I pray for Nolan Wells' family, his mama, his daddy, and all his loved ones, including his siblings, and those that were really friends with Nolan. I pray that the justice and truth happen, that truth is exposed. That's what we need to know. As Christine Wansley would say, they need to know what happened to their son. I love you guys. See you again soon. Bye for now.
From the dust I was born, to the dirt I shall return. When my eyes are closed, in the shadows, my enemies will think they won, but I am here to stay. Destiny will overcome, no, I am not afraid. Like a phoenix in the night, my soul will rise. From the darkness to the light, I feel alive. I'm a fire burning bright, I'll never die. Like a phoenix